Okay, I came to the conclusion I needed to sell IBM, get out of it. I collected my 5.4% dividend in June, and I need to find something to replace it. I've been preaching the big six, one of which was IBM. They just aren't keeping up with the best of the big six, and that would be Google, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. So I'm liquidating my holdings in IBM, and I'm looking for replacements. And I think I've come across two, Nvidia and Livongo. Let's talk about Nvidia, why I've tuned into that. I was aware of Nvidia. In fact, they have an office in Huntsville, Alabama, just up the road from here. And I have a friend's son that works for them. And so they've been on my radar for a while. But I'm reading a book called Life After Google. One of you, by the way, recommended that. And in that commentary, they're explaining that Google, as they were developing their face recognition software, and they tell a story about being able to identify cats and dogs and all this sort of thing. And they went to Nvidia, which is a gaming company, and they had a chip, I guess that's what you would call it, that was wired such that it could do just that. And Nvidia somewhat exploded after that. And then I read that in Elon Musk's Tesla machine, his program works basically on building a database of views that are created from the fleet of cars that he puts out there. And through those views, he is creating an autonomous automobile. And that chip, again, is Nvidia. So I decided I want to buy Nvidia. Now, Nvidia, if you look it up, you're going to see it's gone up substantially. So I'm looking for a buy-in point. I believe it's somewhere around a $90 stock. And once I liquidate my IBM, that's where I'll go with it. So I see this as a stock of the future. And let me give you some reference point. I was in the real estate business. I still am. And I believed, as I was in the real estate business, and this is how my YouTube channel really started, was that Amazon was going to buy Zillow. Now, if you aren't familiar with Zillow, Zillow came in and made a deal with the MLS people around the country that, hey, you've got this big book of pictures that you show, and we'll digitize your catalog of homes available, and we'll make it available. And I suspect they actually kicked something back to the MLS. Well, what they just did was what Amazon did to Sears Roebuck. They digitalized their catalog. So Zillow now, the statistics is the first showing of every home in the United States, and I think in Canada as well, 90% of them occur on Zillow. So Zillow is now in a position to put the brokers of the world out of business, basically because they are going to put that catalog of homes in front of you, and they're going to ask you some questions, and then they're going to show you a series of pictures, and you're going to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and they're going to narrow down your selection of homes so that you don't have to get in the backseat of a realtor's car and drive around for 3 days and look at homes. You will actually, through artificial intelligence and Nvidia's software, be able to match your likes and your dislikes with the pictures and the data that the real estate agents pick up. Well, what that will immediately do is eliminate the need for a buyer's agent. So that'll save 2.5% to 4%, whatever they charge, on the sale of a price. And then the other thing that happened in relation to that is we all, as brokers, used a service called Dot Loop, which was a signed contract service that so you could email back and forth contracts to buy and sell homes. Well, Zillow, being as greedy as they are, went and bought Dotloop. Well, the brokers then of the world who don't like Zillow because they kind of cut them out, all switched, and I belong to Keller Williams. In about September, they announced we're switching from Dotloop to DocuSign. Well, at that point, DocuSign's stock skyrocketed. So I believe that Nvidia is going to be the next tool that Zillow uses to take over control of the industry. Now, why am I not buying Zillow? Zillow is a one industry stock. When the housing industry crashes, Zillow will crash with them. So I don't know that I'm comfortable there. Now, I kick myself. I bought Zillow back a year and a half ago for 45. It went to 65, and I sold it. But then at the crash, it went to 21. Oh, geez. And I thought, no, they're going to collapse. They aren't going, and they went right back up to 65. So I kicked myself on that one. I don't get them all right. So anyway, that's why I want to buy Nvidia, and I will find a point at which I get into it, and I'll let you know on my morning market plan letter where I think I should buy it. If you don't know what I'm talking about on my morning market plan, that's a newsletter I put out every morning of what I'm going to do in that given day relative to the stock market. It's free because I don't have to put a stamp on it. It's sent out through Constant Contact. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to receive it, just sign up at bestofusinvestors.com. Put your email address in there and I'll send it to you. Okay. The next stock that I really want to get into that I mentioned is Livongo. Livongo. Live on Go. They are a company that basically, it's a service that if you have diabetes or high blood pressure or whatever, they have apparatus that will measure your blood pressure or your blood sugar, and then they supply you with information through your phone as to how you're doing and what you need to do to stay healthy. Well, if you've seen some of my videos, you know that I talked not long ago about, relative to the corona crisis, that we need a smart toilet. Now, the smart toilet is actually being developed at Harvard and Stanford. They have students doing this. And so what that smart toilet's going to do is when I get up in the morning and when my normal time comes around and I poop in the toilet, there's going to be a 5G sensor in there that's going to probe my poop and analyze it. And it's going to it's going to recognize if I got anything going wrong. It's also going to analyze my pee. I'm also then going to get up and brush my teeth, and my smart toothbrush is going to analyze my saliva. And then I'll take my finger and put it once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, and prick my finger, and it's going to analyze my blood. I'll stand in front of naked, in front of my smart mirror, and it's going to analyze my body. I'll get on my smart scale, I'll wear my smart watch, I'll wear my smart t-shirt, whatever. And all that information is going to be pumped into the cloud, and then I'm going to own that data, and I'm going to tell Livongo that they can analyze that data, compare it to the other 700 million people that sign up for Livongo, and come back to me and tell me if I'm okay, if I've got cancer, if I've got Parkinson's, if whatever, it's going to tell me that. Now, I have to sign up for that, and they'll probably charge me $9.99 a month, and I'll get that. And then every morning, it will tell me on my phone whether I'm okay. Now, what I think the beauty of this is it's also going to recognize when the next pandemic shows up, and it's going to tell me whether or not I got a communicable disease, and this is then going to give me my ticket to get on a cruise ship, to get on an airplane, to go into a restaurant, and it will be what will protect us from the next pandemic. So if the pandemic shows up in Paducah, Kentucky, they will know it within, 48 hours. So they'll quarantine Paducah, Kentucky, and unlike Wuhan, China, it won't go across the world, and it won't shut down the economies, and it won't put us all in jeopardy. Wow, why didn't I think of that? Well, I did. I did about a year ago, and I'll show you the video. So this is what's going to happen, and the best I can see of it is Livongo. And stupid me, I talked to you about it in my morning letter. And one of you told the hedge funds. And so this morning, Livongo's up 19% because they jumped on what I told you because you didn't keep your mouth shut. And now I got to wait for it to come down and fill the gap. So that's Livongo. That's Nvidia. That's my number 6 and 7 on my new big 7. These are the people who are going to take us into the new world. These are the people who have figured out the digital revolution and are going to be a part of it. Now you got to figure it out. I got an email this morning from a lady in California, and she explained that she and her husband got lucky or got smart back in 08, 09, 10, and bought some distressed houses in California, and they fixed them up, and she pretty much runs it, and they add it to their income, and they're doing quite well with it. And she has always thought, I ought to do a YouTube channel about this, and teach other people what I've done. But she said, there's this voice in my head that says, you can't do that. Nobody wants to know that. There's nobody who wants to do that. And besides, you've got an accent. And nobody will tune into that. Hey, guess what? That's that unwanted roommate that I've been telling you about that lives in your head and tells you you aren't worthy. You can't do that. You're a dreamer. So sit down and shut up. Well, you need to read my book because I used to be that same person. As you might notice, I'm no longer that person because I discovered why that person was in my head. And I discovered the 10 days in my life that gave that person in my head the strength it had over me. And once I learned what those 10 days were within the first 14 years of my life, I was able to evict that SOB. And now I've got a person who lives in my head who thinks I am phenomenal, who tells me every morning what I ought to share with you, who came up with this video, who told me I should sell IBM and buy Nvidia and Livongo. So you need to read this book. You'll find a link to it in the description. And I want to share with you then what else that did for me. What else it did for me when I got that SOB out of my head. I used to run track in high school. I was pretty fast. So long story short, my grandson one time while we were watching the Winter Olympics asked me why I didn't participate in the Olympics. And as a result of that, I decided I was going to be a bobsled pusher. And I looked into it, and I found out, and at the time I was about 60 years old, 62 maybe. And I found out that the bobsled pushers are those people who don't make it in professional football or professional basketball or whatever. And so I wasn't going to be. But as I looked, I discovered the Senior Olympics. And what the Senior Olympics is, every odd year, they hold a Olympics for people 50 and up. and they divide the 50 to 55 run against each other, and so forth. So right now I am in the 75 to 80 category. I've been doing this for 10 years. I did it, first one was in Houston back in, 11, I guess. And so they didn't have the qualifications this year because of the coronavirus. And I run the 50, the 100-meter dash, and the 200-meter dash. Yeah, and it is. You need to do this. Whatever your age is, you need to go to your high school track, and you need to get down on the starting line in your 4-point stance and cock your body back, and then say, on your mark, raise your butt, get set, go. And at that point, what you will discover is that you launch yourself off of that starting line, and you hold your body down, and you churn your arms, and you dig at that track in small steps, and then you extend your steps to about the 20-meter line. At that point, you are standing straight up, transferring all the energy you have to your legs and keeping your body up above very even, so as to not throw your hips and get your energy moving sideways as opposed to forward. At about the 30-meter mark, you go airborne. As you throw your leg out to touch the ground, your back leg comes up, and for a split second, you're airborne, just like a racehorse. And you're propelling your body down that track as fast as you can, and you're on your toes. Your heels, even the pads of your feet, never touch the ground, and you're on your toes. About the 50-meter line, you realize you're not even out of breath because you haven't taken a breath yet. At that point, at the 70-meter yard line, your body is consuming the oxygen in your blood so fast, you start feeling oxygen deprivation. And your body, and you feel your lungs starting to pull more oxygen in as hard as they can. You see the finish line, and then you burst across the finish line. At that point, the pads of your feet hit the ground. Shortly thereafter, the heels of your feet hit the ground, and you are in total exhaustion. And you're 15 years old again, and you're experiencing the exhilaration of life. And what you find is you're pretty damn good at it. And people give you medals for it because you are the fastest 75 to 80-year-old in the state of Alabama. As it turns out, you're about the 12th fastest in the United States. So you can do whatever you want to do, whatever you put your mind to do, whatever you're willing to take your body and your mind to the max, you can do it. The only thing that is keeping you from doing it is that unwanted roommate in your head that says, Carrie, you're not fast enough. Are you crazy? You're going to go out and put your body through that pain and agony? I did it Sunday again. And I'll tell you, I felt 15 years old as I was gasping for breath. My heart rate went from a resting, because I have it on my watch, and I could then see it on my phone, from a resting 57 beats per second, and within 16 seconds, I was up to 150 beats per second. I can guarantee you, I will never die of a heart attack. My muscle in my heart is as strong as it can be because I push it to the limit. And that's what you need to do. You need to find your talent, find your skill, and then test yourself. Test the limit. Find your breaking point, and then go on. Read this book. Stay with me. We got a whole lot of fun in front of us.